With all those millions pumped into esports, it's easy to forget just how young an industry it still is. As such, growing pains are common, and controversy remains around every corner. Here's our list of the top 10 controversial moments that esports has ever seen. The COD scene still has its drama, but the onstage squabbles were so much more explosive back in the day. Take this example from UMG Chicago 2012, in which the all-time king of COD villainy, Ace, shows his frustrations after losing a deciding map in the grand finals against Optic, after his team had forced a bracket reset.
Take something away from
The target of all this petulant pushing, none other than Matthew Nadeshot Hague, nowadays known as the CEO of 100 Thieves. Ace, meanwhile, has won the COD World Champs twice, so at least everything turned out well in the end. That Ace scuffle was handbags at best. Here's a more extreme example that happened way more recently. In April 2019, Hawks Talon GC beat Celtics Crossover in the opening week of the NBA 2K League second season. Then came the traditional handshakes, and the less traditional shoulder barges, and finally, the all-out brawl? Shout out to production, who cranked up the post-game music and hastily cut to a be right back screen instead of doing what we'd be doing and grabbing the popcorn. The absolute height of professionalism. Seven years after that tussle with Ace, now CEO of 100 Thieves Nadeshot's public argument with longtime friend Nick Merckx ticked all those boxes. That's after he allegedly promised Nick Merckx 5% of the business, then went back on his word when typing up the actual contract. With 100 Thieves worth an estimated 100 mil, you can see why the story blew up. But both parties have the right to feel aggrieved, so we suggest checking our detailed video on it that's linked in the description. For now, we'll just say this still-breaking story is easily one of the most controversial in esports history. An esports final represents months of blood, sweat, and tears, both for the players who've been grinding and the fans who've saved the cash to cheer them on from the stands. So imagine how cheated the 2012 MLG Summer Championships crowd felt when the grand finals looked like this.
That's never real. Not in a million years. If that's real, I'd eat my hat, because that is bonkers. So, who's trolling the other one the more? That's the question.
Goes without saying, this is not how competitive leagues should look. Turns out the Curse and Dignitas squads had agreed to play a minigame called All Random All Mid, aka ARAM. Even worse, they'd agreed to split the first and second place prizes in this $40,000 tourney. Unsurprisingly, MLG didn't see the funny side and stripped both teams of their prize money and circuit points, which were shared among the teams below. The esports scene is tough enough, but it can be particularly brutal for females, so it's important that the people in charge keep things as fair as possible between the sexes, or at the absolute minimum, allow women to actually play. Apparently, the International Esports Federation missed that memo, opting to make Dota 2 and Hearthstone male-only events at Assembly 2014, with the Hearthstone tournament a World Championship qualifier. Their reasoning? They wanted to emulate real sports as much as possible and comply with real sport regulations. Understandably, the backlash was real, making international news. In credit to the Federation, they saw sense in the end and reversed the decision, while also keeping the female-only tournaments they'd planned for other games. Representing a fledgling esports nation, best not to cheat. But at Extremesland 2018, Optic India's Forsaken tried his luck anyway. Despite his tragic attempts to wrestle the TOs away from his monitor, he was caught, his team banned, and all of them dropped shortly after, even though the others had no idea what he was doing. Unsurprisingly, Forsaken is yet to find another team. The South Korean pro StarCraft scene is unlike anything in the West. Players are superstars in every sense of the word, with entire TV channels dedicated to the game. But in 2010, mere months before StarCraft 2, the scene's rotten core was revealed to the world. It emerged that certain players had been throwing matches for years, then betting on the outcome through illegal gambling sites. 11 players, including Xavier, Justin, and Luxury, were fined, as well as being permanently banned from pro gaming. Some, including Xavier, were even given suspended jail sentences. One player cheating is a travesty, but this story brought the entire scene, not to mention esports in general, into disrepute. The fact that 5 years later, 2 StarCraft 2 players and a coach were caught doing the same thing didn't really help. Admitting to illegally taking drugs is one thing, but the nonchalance with which Cloud9's Semphis talked about he and his teammates' Adderall usage at ESL 1 Katowice 2015 made it scarily clear just how widespread its use must have been in CSGO.
I don't even care. We were all on Adderall. Like, I don't even give a fuck. Like, it was pretty obvious, like, if you listen to the comms, like, I don't know, people can hate it or whatever. Tons of people
everyone
do
does Adderall at ESL, right?
Yeah. So,
throwing that out there.
The story blew up, even making the New York Times, and ESL's response was a legitimately good one. They announced they'd start performing random drugs tests throughout their events. Perhaps that's what Semphis wanted all along. Turner Tfue Tenny is one of the biggest streamers in the world, and we all thought his partnership with FaZe Clan was as mutually beneficial as it got. Turns out we were wrong, as while the org sent his numbers to the stratosphere, on May 20th, 2019, he threatened to sue them. Apparently, his contract had some serious issues, California law violating serious issues. FaZe owner Banks insisted he'd been trying to arrange a new contract for months, but Tfue had seemingly taken it upon himself to ensure no other up-and-comer is stranded with a contract like this ever again. This story is still breaking, but it's already blown up enough to trend in the entirety of the US. It's mainstream news at this point, so check out our link in the description if you need to catch up. iBuyPower circa August 2015 were an extremely highly rated CSGO team. Netcodeguides.com, not so much. But their first to 16 match didn't exactly go the way that everyone expected. This was not David just beating Goliath, but making it look easy. Although IBP's play looked suspicious, journalist Richard Lewis's reports that the game had been fixed were brushed aside as rumours. But 5 months later, he came back with proof, leaked texts, in which a former iBuyPower player, Dborn, admitted the team were throwing games, and he was betting on it. 4 of their players were permabanned from competitive CSGO, as was everyone else involved in the fix. It was a dark day for the game, and a darker day for esports in general. And that just about wraps things up. As lovers of esports, it's a shame that lists like this have to exist, but it's also important to keep these moments in our minds to help the scene avoid making similar mistakes in the future. If we've missed anything that you felt should be there, or if you have any thoughts in general, let us know in the comments. Otherwise, thank you all for watching.